Let's set the scene. Imagine you're finally tackling that messy room you've been putting off for weeks. You're sorting through old clothes, forgotten books, and random junk. That's exactly what David was doing. He was in the middle of this mundane chore when he stumbled upon something unusual. Tucked away in the back of a dusty drawer, there was a small, unlabeled flash drive. It looked old, forgotten. Who knows how long it had been sitting there? His curiosity got the better of him. I mean, wouldn't yours? He took a seat at his desk, the flash drive feeling oddly heavy in his hand, and plugged it into his laptop. A single drive icon popped up on his screen. He double-clicked it. Inside, there was just one folder. The name was written in stark capital letters. Do not open. Now, let's be honest. When someone tells you not to do something, it just makes you want to do it more, right? A wave of hesitation washed over David, but it was quickly replaced by an irresistible urge to know what was inside. He took a deep breath, hovered the cursor over the folder, and clicked. The folder opened, revealing several video files, each with a simple numerical title. 1, 2, 3, and so on. He stared at the first file for a moment before his finger clicked again, and the video began to play. His blood ran cold. The face on the screen was his own. It was him, David, sitting in the exact same chair, in the exact same room. But something was wrong. His clothes were different, and his expression, it was completely blank. His eyes were wide, staring directly into the camera with an unnerving intensity. David was certain he had never recorded this. Never sat like that, never stared like that. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach. For what felt like an eternity, the David on the screen just sat there, motionless, not even blinking. It was like watching a living statue. Then, just as he was about to dismiss it as some weird glitch, something moved in the background. A dark, fleeting shadow darted across the wall behind the on-screen David. It was so fast he almost missed it, but he saw it, and he knew it wasn't a trick of the light. His hands were trembling now, a cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. He couldn't stop. He had to see the next one. He clicked on the second video file. This time, the scene was different. It was his bedroom at night. The video showed him sleeping in his bed. He watched himself, tossing and turning slightly, completely unaware. But the chilling part was the angle. The camera was positioned high up in the corner of the room, looking down on him. It was the perspective of someone standing there, silently watching him sleep. The thought sent a shiver down his spine. Who could have filmed this? He lived alone. As he watched the grainy footage, his heart pounding in his chest, the on-screen version of him suddenly snapped his eyes wide open. They weren't sleepy or groggy. They were alert, and they stared directly into the camera, right at the person who was filming. David slammed his laptop shut, his breath catching in his throat. But the silence didn't last. The lights in his room began to flicker violently, plunging him into darkness for a second, before coming back on. A harsh, grating static noise erupted from his laptop's speakers, even though it was closed. He fumbled to open it again, his hands shaking so badly he could barely manage. The video was paused just as he'd left it, with his own terrifying, wide-eyed face staring back. Fear was screaming at him to throw the laptop against the wall, to run out of the house and never look back. But another feeling was warring with the fear, a dark, consuming curiosity. He had to know what was on the last file. His eyes were drawn to it. It had a different title than the others. It was named Live, With a trembling finger, he clicked on the final file. The video feed blinked to life, and his heart stopped. It was a live feed of his room. His room. Right now, he could see his messy desk, the open drawer, the flickering lamp, and he could see himself. The camera was pointed directly at him, sitting at his desk, his face a mask of pure terror. As he stared at the screen, it was like looking into a cursed mirror. His reflection, the David on the screen, was him, but it wasn't. Because as David watched in horror, the man on the screen smiled. A slow, twisted, unnatural smile spread across his face. Then, the on-screen David slowly pushed his chair back, stood up, and began to walk. He walked directly toward the camera, toward the screen, his smile growing wider with each step, as if he was about to step right out of the laptop and into the room. Suddenly, a loud, heavy knock echoed from his bedroom door. Bang, bang, bang. David flinched so hard, he almost fell out of his chair. His head whipped around to face the door, his heart hammering against his ribs like a drum. Who was there? He was frozen, caught between the terror behind the door and the horror on his screen. He slowly, hesitantly, turned his gaze back to the laptop, but the live feed was gone. The screen was completely black, utter darkness. He waited, holding his breath. Then, slowly, faint white text began to fade in, glowing in the dark. 4 simple words that sealed his fate. I'm already here. And in that final, deafening silence, he heard it. A soft, wet sound right behind his ear. The sound of someone breathing. If you liked this story, then subscribe for the next story.